Vision may not be the only dead person that Wanda is controlling here. I'm starting to think. Hey fellow Force users, what is up? It's Ahsoka Tano fan and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So time for another episode of WandaVision. We had a pretty interesting previous episode. It revealed a lot. We saw Agnes break character. We were introduced to Sparky, the dog who mysteriously died. I don't know if I believe that he just died like that or if Agnes had an involvement somehow. We saw the twins jump in age. We saw Vision start to question his surroundings and confront Wanda about what's really going on. We had a lot of Easter eggs, including the Lagos commercial, which actually, if you watch the episode, director Hayward actually mentions Lagos as one of the Avengers failures in his briefing during that scene with him and Darcy Lewis and Jimmy Woo. So that was like a nice foreshadowing. That was before they actually showed the official Lagos commercial. We had the epic confrontation between Wanda and Sword, and at the end of the episode, of course, we had that surprise cameo by Quicksilver, played by Evan Peters, which definitely suggests that all kinds of doors are open now to bring in X-Men and maybe Fantastic Four as well. Monica's scan was also blank, which at the time I was kind of wondering what that meant, but a couple people in my comments had talked about how that might actually be hinting that she already has her powers and she just isn't aware of it, which would be really cool. This episode, I'm just looking at the little thumbnail here, and it looks like it's a Halloween themed episode. I don't know if we'll see any more surprise cameos in this episode or if they might save it for the finale going forward, but yeah, I'm just excited to see what's going on and if they're gonna show Monica have her powers at all, if they're even gonna show Monica this episode. They do kind of seem to be going back and forth between those two worlds, so we may see Sword again in this episode, but yeah, either way, I'm looking forward to it and seeing what happens. As always, I could sit here and speculate for hours. I will not do that. Let's instead jump into the episode and see what it's about. Haha, it sounds like WandaVision. Like, WandaVision, WandaVision. Oh, is that Agnes? I like how she's one of the only characters that's oh, Petra. That's a regular. Like Dottie and Mr. Hart, Herb, they're not even regulars, but Agnes is always there. This reminds me of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. But I think that's from the 2000s though. This is supposed to be the 90s. But it's very similar to Zack and Cody. One? The costume.
I'm a Sokovian fortune teller.
Wow.
That's them as kids.
That's not exactly how I remember it.
You probably suppressed a lot of the trauma.
Vision.
A booger.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Me gusta mucho.
Aha.
No, that's not what you're supposed to. Well,
Oh.
you didn't tell me you had plans.
Well, I am telling you now.
You have to run everything by Wanda.
Be good.
Oh,
Smell crime.
that look. She realizes she can't control him.
Respectable family. If I say any funny business, I am going to magic you into a pickled herring.
I think she's not joking somehow. So is Vision gonna try and find out what's on the outside? Maybe?
The guy who almost got murdered by his own murder squad.
Oh.
She has
Oh, that's deep.
Don't use the last 5 years as an excuse to be a coward.
Oh, God. Shots fired.
It's a good thing you were here when your mother died.
Oh, that's a low.
Because clearly you don't have the stomach for this job.
Oh my gosh. He did not go there. Something's up with him, you know. I don't know if he's just an asshole or if he's actually bad. A scroll, perhaps? Oh, they're fighting back. Yes. I like the song. So what are they gonna do? They're right. Wanda, if she's the problem, she has to be the solution. I like that.
If I found Shangri-La, I wouldn't want to be reminded of the past either.
That's so cute. I think that was a nod to Aaron Taylor Johnson because he was in Kick-Ass. He played Kick-Ass.
Say again? All the candy has disappeared.
Oh. Oh my God. They're wreaking havoc.
Want something changed?
No, it's fine.
He broke character too. So Herb and Agnes. Herb and Agnes are both aware of what's going on. Oh my God. Is that like a time loop? Is she forced to do that as a punishment from Wanda or something? What the heck? Yo, magic. Oh my God. That was so dark. That was so dark. Yo, man. Does that mean Wanda's magic's gonna
Can't believe you're making
kill
this up.
everybody?
What happened to yours?
That's a big question.
Details are fuzzy, man. Next thing I know, I heard you calling me.
They've got full-size kids.
He's a problem.
Remember, don't go past Ellis Avenue.
What's Ellis Avenue? Or Ellis Avenue? What did they say? He's sketchy.
The decay signature of vibranium. Vision. Wait, why is Hayward tracking Vision?
Are they all frozen? Did Wanda, like, she's not focusing on that part of town, so that's why it's frozen? Where she is where time's moving? Or the further away you get from her, the less you move or something? Because I'm thinking of this, she's controlling all this with her mind. So maybe the parts of the town she's not focused on are not moving or doing anything until she gets there and tells them what to do. The light's flickering. Wow. There's a car there just idling, not moving. It sounds like she can stop time, or her, or whoever is helping her. Is that Agnes? But she's moving still.
What are you doing here?
Got lost.
In the town you grew up in?
Are they dead or something? Are they both dead?
Oh, no.
Can she see how he really looks?
No.
Dead! Dead!
Agnes, please, calm down. Agnes.
Ralph? Should she mention Ralph? So why did they stop? Is that when they were like trying to remember how they got there or something? Ellis Avenue. She told the kids not to go there. So what is this? Is that where the field is? The force field? Energy field, whatever. So, man, now I'm wondering, are some of these people actually dead? Vision may not be the only dead person that Wanda is controlling here. I'm starting to think.
Just gotta meet my guy over the ridge. Let's roll.
My guy.
You can't do that.
Which guy?
It's changing you.
She will have powers now.
Lab results to last me a lifetime.
Where were you hiding all these kids up till now?
What?
Peacefully in their beds.
Oh, yeah!
Ties beyond the occasional holiday episode family member.
They're kids!
You're
And
up
what's
to
to you?
the thread.
I don't.
How'd you even do all this?
Is he working for Sword? Trying to figure out how she's doing it? I think he's a Sword agent. Maybe. Like, working for Sword, I mean. I'm really starting to think that everyone in there is dead. Except her kids. Who, well, if there's still Mephisto, will be dead also, but... He's getting close. Oh my gosh. Oh, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna walk through? But it changes your cells, so like, could that make him become alive again? It's like calling for him almost. Whoa. But will he drop dead or will he remain alive? What's gonna happen? He's alive so far. Oh my gosh. Wanda's not letting him. Oh! He's tearing apart. Oh my gosh. He senses it. Wow. That answers that. He doesn't stay alive if he leaves. He's not gonna die, is he? He can't die.
It's not like your dead husband could die twice.
Oh! Why did he do that? Say that. Oh my god. She's freezing everything. Okay, so this is probably what she did when she confronted the soldiers the last time, which is a question I asked. Does time stop? Oh shit, it's moving. Wow, that's what Monica means. If she keeps being antagonized, she could just expand that to encompass the whole world. Oh my gosh, what an asshole, just leaving her like that. Oh, they all changed to flags. Oh my gosh. The cars change into buildings. And wow. So she took over all of them. Wow. She's had enough, safe to say. Yo, Wanda is making me laugh almost. Wow. This is so bad. Is she gonna stop anytime soon? Oh my gosh, Wanda. Okay guys, so that was another amazing episode. Each episode I feel like is just getting better and better, and I feel like I have more questions than I did the previous episode. So with that, let's jump right into the review. Right away, if we start from the intro, I got kind of a Sweet Life of Zack and Cody vibes or something like that. I don't know if that was what they were trying to model it after, but the style was very similar. Although I'm pretty sure The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was from the 2000s, not the 90s. I love that we got to see Wanda in her original classic Scarlet Witch costume from the comics and the cartoons. That's awesome. It kind of shows that she is now becoming Scarlet Witch, not just in the outside world, because we already know she is in the outside world, but in the sitcom world as well. Well, actually, technically, she is Scarlet Witch in the outside world in the sense that she shows her powers, but she's not in the sense that she doesn't yet have a nickname, because what director Hayward mentioned in one of the previous episodes was, does she not have any fancy nickname? And so that tells us right there that she's only known as Wanda so far. I like how when Tommy and Billy are talking about Halloween, Billy says that something along the lines of, Halloween's awesome because you get to be somebody else for a day, which is ironic because people are acting as some character, someone other than themselves, because they're all inside Wanda's hex. When we think of Halloween, we know that it can be lighthearted at times, you know, like Tommy said, oh, it's about the candy, but it can also have a very like dark undertone, and you kind of have like this dark side, no pun intended, spooky nature to Halloween, where people try and scare you, and you have horror films based on Halloween, like Halloween. And so that is also exactly what the hex is. It seems very lighthearted, has a sitcom theme and everything, but then we know there's a darker underlying tone here, and we really got to see that this episode. In the first scene, Pietro said something about how your costume is worse than the one Mom made us when we got typhus or something like that. And Wanda said that's not exactly how I remember it. I think that scene showed a couple things. For one, it kind of implied that Pietro doesn't have all of his memories intact, because that seems to happen when you come into the hex, you don't have all your memories. But it also kind of is interesting how Wanda said, I don't remember it that way, because it just kind of reminds us that, well, she literally has the capability of rewriting reality, as we're starting to see in the series. And if that were to apply to the past somehow, then quite literally she can rewrite it so that it can be reflected in a way that she wants to remember it. In the intro scene, we also see Wanda say something like, Pietro is full of surprises. and she kind of seems a little bit perplexed by his behavior, which tells me that he is kind of going off script, so to speak, and doing a lot of what she didn't intend for him to do. And we also see Vision challenge her in that same scene. And this plays to what Vision said in the previous episode, which was that you can't control me like you control them. Quicksilver seems to be kind of along the same mind here. They both kind of seem to be going against Wanda in that scene, and that just shows again that she is in control, but she's not in total control at the end of the day. And then of course Vision tells Wanda to be good, which we know has definitely more than one meaning in this case. And we know that Wanda ends up not doing that. I love one of the things that Monica says in this episode, which is if Wanda is the problem, then she has to be the solution. And that is so powerful. The only way they're going to bring these people back somehow would be stopping Wanda herself. Often the solution is right in front of our eyes, and we can actually find the solution within the problem. Even in Civil War, all the conflict was started because of their disagreement over the Sokovia Accords, because half of them wanted to sign, half of them didn't want to sign. In reality, that was what was causing all the problems, and they were able to come together in the end because they themselves were also the solution, even though they were also the problem to one another. So that was like a very powerful statement, and I think it could be significant in a lot of ways. I still feel like there's more to Hayward than him just being, the asshole. I think that he is potentially hiding something there. We know from that scene with Darcy, Wu, and Monica that he discovered a way to monitor the hex that he hadn't shared with the rest of the group. And he already was kind of shady when he said he was going to send the drone in and then ended up trying to actually kill Wanda. And so it just kind of makes you wonder what else he is hiding, and if he has some type of darker secret and ulterior motive, right? We know that he was monitoring Vision only too. Does he somehow think that he can either control Vision to get through to Wanda? Because Vision is basically like an android. So is he trying to hack into him somehow? When Wanda stole Vision's body, he was in pieces, and it looked like he was in some sort of lab and maybe being experimented on. Does that mean that Hayward, his ultimate goal is not even necessarily to free the town, but rather to reclaim Vision's body so that they can continue on with whatever experiment they were trying to use him for in the first place? We don't know, but either way, he definitely is suspicious. And in one of the previous episodes, you kind of had that play with words where Darcy was saying and was about to call him a dick, and then it cut to Hayward using the word terrorist to describe Wanda. So the line read, "He's a terrorist." And I think that might end up being true, and I think we'll find that out within the upcoming episodes for sure. They brought up Carol Danvers in this episode as well. We know in the previous episode that Monica, when Captain Marvel's name was brought up, she seemed to kind of shrug it off and dismiss her. It should be interesting to see what it was that actually happened between Monica and Captain Marvel, but I do think it had something to do with her mom, and she blames her somehow. I like the scenes throughout between Wanda and Pietro. I like how they kind of throw questions at one another, and she asked him, why does he look different? He's like, I don't know, you tell me, kind of thing. And she asked him later about what was the name of that kid that always used to bother you or something, and he never answers the question. And then he also asked her questions too, like, how were you able to do this? How did you get the children in Westview, which we're going to get to in a second, because oh my god, there's children. At one point he mentioned something about, I wouldn't want to be reminded of the past either. Just another reminder that Wanda seems to be holding on to the past. We know in the previous episode there was the Lagos commercial, which was a reference to what happened in Lagos at the beginning of Civil War, and she obviously still blames herself for that and feels a lot of grief for that. And grief was another word that was used in this, by Quicksilver. That is essentially why Wanda is doing all this, and she says that she doesn't remember how it happened, but that she felt alone. Just like the kid in that commercial, Wanda felt alone. So slowly, these characters are kind of questioning Wanda the same way we are, and trying to kind of get to the bottom of this mystery and figure out why it is she's doing what she's doing. First it was Vision, and now it's Quicksilver, and who knows who else it's going to be down the road. They mention the word kick-ass, and then she says kick-ass, And that was obviously a nice little nod to not only Aaron Taylor Johnson, but Evan Peters himself, who was also in Kick-Ass. They were both in Kick-Ass. So Aaron Taylor Johnson played Kick-Ass himself, and then Evan Peters was Kick-Ass as friend. So that was kind of a nice little nod there. While we're on the topic with Wanda and Pietro, we have to talk about when that scene happened. You know, that was very similar to when we saw Vision, what Vision really looked like. We saw what Pietro really looked like as well. And that pretty much tells me that he is dead the same way that Vision is dead. And he said that he was shot and then he heard calling and knew that she needed him. It makes me wonder if she stole his body the same way that she did Vision's body, because I don't know, those scenes were very similar to one another. And it's kind of the only explanation as to how he could be dead, but he has shown up in this town, right? And it does make me wonder if anybody else is dead also. You know, you had Agnes at the end there questioning if she was still alive. We know Vision's dead, we know Pietro's dead, and so is there anybody else in this town that is also dead somehow? And that should be interesting to see. When she pushed Quicksilver like that, basically showed that she is not afraid necessarily to hurt those close to her the moment they start to go against her. And I wonder if that's foreshadowing how she could be towards Vision if he's not careful. So during that scene with Herb, we saw him break character by asking Wanda if she needs something changed. He had Pietro kind of allude to that too. He mentioned at some point as well, or something about his cameo and whether or not he should repeat something, or either way, they both seem to be aware, just like Agnes was back in the last episode, of what's really going on. As soon as he was saying, oh, you mean all the candy stolen? Oh, you mean all the jack-o'-lanterns were destroyed? It's like those things happen right after he said it. And so I don't know if that means like he's reading some sort of script, and when he reads the script, those things have to happen, or did he cause that to happen somehow? I really don't know. There might be a script somewhere that we're not seeing, and when the script is followed, everything in the town runs smoothly. Or I don't know. I really honestly am kind of, like I said, I have more questions at the end of this episode than I did at the end of the last episode. Okay, so that commercial, I got the impression that it wasn't a Marvel reference per se. When I say that, what I mean is that it's not a direct reference to any of the movies or anything like that. I think that it's kind of more symbolic as to what's happening in the story. You have like a kid, first of all, a child, that's significant, because as Pietro mentioned in this episode, we basically haven't seen children besides Billy and Tommy up until this episode, right? And so when episode 2 came out and Dottie kept saying for the children, we were kind of wondering, okay, where are the children? And then Vision questions where the children are the previous episode. All of a sudden this episode, they show up out of nowhere. You know, so that makes me wonder too, is Wanda somehow changing things as she goes along, you know, based off of what other people say, possibly. But anyway, you have a child there and he's alone and he's offered a snack, which is almost like false hope kind of, because when he tries to open it, he's unable to, and then he ends up dying. And so I just wonder if that is kind of trying to tell us that people like Vision, for example, have the false hope that he can get to the bottom of this and he can, you know, stop Wanda and find out what's on the outside. But really, like, there is no hope on the outside, because when he tried to leave at the end there, we saw what happened. As Agnes said as well, you know, nobody ever leaves. So I'm kind of wondering if it somehow relates to that, like a sense of false hope. Okay, so we got to talk about the whole Ellis Road thing and the frozen people. We know that Wanda warns her children not to go past Ellis Road. And then we find out later that past Ellis Road is where the force, the energy field is. And it just seems like the more Vision goes to the outskirts of the town, the less people move. Except him, though. If you take that in, Vision's the only person that seems to be able to kind of go on his own, whereas everybody else is frozen. That's actually significant there. Just thought of that as I was talking. It first starts with the woman and her husband that are in a loop, you know, she's hanging, whatever it is, she's hanging, and the husband's keeps picking up and setting down the jack-o'-lantern. I was basically blurting out a lot of things during my reaction, but I couldn't figure out if maybe some people were in like a loop because maybe Wanda put them there as punishment, or if it was something having to do with the fact that Wanda can only concentrate a certain amount of mental energy at a time, to certain parts of the town at a time is what I'm trying to say. That would explain why people that are so far away from her, she's not able to control them. So that's why they're frozen, right? Because you got to think, if she's doing all this with her mind, it's got to be taking a lot of energy and a lot of power to maintain this energy field and mind control every single person. So to me, it just shows that she's only able to do that with people relatively in her vicinity. And the further away you get from her, the less control she has over you. She is growing more powerful, right? As Pietro said, you've come a long way since emitting squiggly lines or whatever it was he said. And she's now at the point where she can control masses of people and expand the hex, as we saw at the end, but not quite powerful enough to control every single individual in the town, and therefore in the world. But when she does get to that point, then she will be able to quite literally rewrite reality, as she did in the comics. So that whole scene with the frozen people was just so powerful. And you even see that flickering light. It's almost ominous because it's like the only moving thing besides Vision in that scene is that flickering light. And it almost kind of implies too that the things are about to get a whole lot darker. You have like the light trying to stay on and like what happens when it goes out, sort of thing. So that scene with Agnes now, so she's at the stop sign. I kind of wonder, again, like, is it because she was right at Alice Road, right? Which is where the energy field is. Was she somehow trying to get away but couldn't because Wanda was keeping her there? Or is it that the closer you get to it, you kind of become more in a daze or something like that? But that whole scene was very bizarre because it was a scene that allowed us to see a darker side of Agnes. This whole time we've seen her as the happy, lighthearted neighbor, and even in the last episode, she seemed like she had some sort of control, more than Norm, for example, who had no idea what was going on until Vision got in his head and unmind controlled him. But Agnes kind of knew, oh, you want me to retake that? So she seemed like she was in control. In this episode, Vision had to do the same thing to her as he did Norm. And so it basically showed us that she is under the same mind control as everybody else, which makes me think that she, does not have power over the situation. But then again, the writers are so tricky because she's dressed as a witch, right? And Agatha Harkness is a witch in the comics. That scene just made me question, what if she's not Agatha Harkness? What if they're just completely throwing us off with that? And she really is just a victim in all of this? Or what if she becomes Agatha Harkness after this is all done? It may not happen in the way that we think necessarily, but either way, that scene was so telling on so many levels. I like how she said, I took a wrong turn and got lost. Vision also mentioned her hometown, growing up in her hometown. So I wonder if maybe it's possible that she was talking about her past somehow during that scene. And she immediately recognizes Vision as an Avenger. He doesn't know what she's talking about. He asks her what's an Avenger, which just shows again Vision has no memory of what happened prior to Westview, as he told us in the last episode. And it's interesting how Agnes shouts dead, kind of like how Mrs. Hart shouted stop it in episode 1, right? So that was pretty interesting. I don't know what to make of that exactly though. And then after she does that, she kind of breaks out into this laugh, which makes me go back and forth, because if she really is a witch, then was that her kind of breaking into that character? Or was she just basically losing her mind? That's why she was laughing, because she's just been through so much torment and grief at the hands of Wanda. It could be that too. She displayed so many emotions, and I think there's more to it than it seems. That scene with Vision is just so telling. Again, because he seems to be the only person that has been able to make it that far past Alice Road without turning into like a mindless trance, and he was able to walk through the barrier, and nobody, to our knowledge, has been able to do that. Monica went through the barrier, but she was obviously cast out by Wanda. And so I think that just kind of shows again that Vision is the most powerful person here next to Wanda, or maybe their power is kind of very on a similar level here. We see Billy, basically he almost turns kind of like into his mother for a moment. He stops Quicksilver, or not Quicksilver, sorry, Tommy. I call him Quicksilver. He stops Tommy just like how Wanda did earlier on in the episode. It hints that he could be as powerful as his mom. We do know that Tommy and Billy are from the comics, obviously, and they're supposed to be part of the Young Avengers. So, you know, there's no doubt that they're powerful, but the way he really sends his vision there, that just kind of shows how powerful her kids are in fact becoming. And just as I had questioned in the past episode, which was, does time stop when Wanda leaves the Hex? And in this scene, it kind of implies that that's what happened. And we saw her essentially freeze everybody and expand the Hex, you know, and the fact that she expanded it as far as she did definitely implies that one day she will be powerful enough to expand that Hex to encompass the entire globe. I do wonder what Vision is going to be like in the next episode, because on one hand I'm thinking, wow, she's going to get an earful. He's going to say, what the hell was that I saw on the outside? What's going on? But on the other hand, I'm thinking he might not remember anything, because his mind might have been wiped yet again by Wanda, right? We heard from Darcy this episode that each time you enter or exit the Hex, your cells are literally rewritten, right? Well, Vision's an android, but if she does anything similar to Vision, then she may just wipe his memory again, so that he doesn't know anything. And yeah, just to kind of wrap up, a couple general questions I had. Who is the missing witness? We still have not figured that out. Who is Monica's guy over the ridge? You know, is it Mr. Fantastic? Either way, it is the aerospace engineer that she was referring to. I think so, but we just have to find out who that is. And also, when are we going to see Monica's powers? Because Darcy talked about Monica's blood work, you know, being on file and how her cells are being rewritten. So that's definitely implying that that she probably will get her powers from the Hex. Where is Dottie? I wonder where she is. We haven't seen her for a couple episodes now, I believe, and I wonder if that's intentional to make us forget her before they bring her back somehow, or is she just gone like Mr. and Mrs. Hart, you know? Does it imply that the Hex is constantly changing and Wanda is casting people out and bringing people in? Or maybe somebody else is doing that without Wanda realizing. Wanda mentions her brother to her son. Her brother shows up, but with a different face. Vision mentions the kids show up. As soon as Herb says those things about the candy being missing and the jack-o'-lanterns being destroyed, it happens. So it seems like certain things that are said in the Hex end up happening. I'm wondering what Pietro's true purpose is. If his body really was stolen by Wanda the same way she stole Vision's body, did she do that and bring him into Westview? Because she's essentially now surrounded by the most important people, right? Which is Vision, her husband, her kids, and now her deceased brother. Is there somehow a possibility for her parents to show up? Because those are also people that from her past that she has lost and who have been mentioned in the movies. The only thing with that though is I don't know if she can do that without having a physical body to bring back, and I don't think that there is any remains of her parents. My only other guess could be that he could be serving as her conscience somehow, and that's why she says things like, you don't think it's wrong? And maybe she's really asking herself that question, and she just kind of has her conscience in the form of someone close to her that she trusts, like her brother. And that's how she's convincing herself that what she's doing is okay. That's it for me, guys. You guys let me know in the comments what you think is going on. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you next week on the next episode of WandaVision.